The following program is brought to you courtesy of a grant provided by the Bank of Princeton.
Good evening. I'm Lou Goldstein, and welcome to Focus On. Tonight our focus is on texting and driving, and my guest tonight is Tracy Noble from AAA. Tracy joined AAA in 2001 and currently serves as the Manager of Public and Government Affairs for AAA's service area, which covers more than 1 million members in New Jersey. A graduate of Rider University, Tracy spent the first few years of her career working for a financial services firm in New York City as a business development liaison. After relocating to South Central New Jersey, she took a position with AAA Mid-Atlantic as a travel marketing coordinator, transitioned into their e-business department, and then ultimately into the public affairs department, where she now works with multiple advocacy groups, police departments, citizen groups, state agencies, and lawmakers, all advocating for the safety of the motoring public in New Jersey. Tracy brings a tremendous enthusiasm to the public and government relations team, and she stands ready to assist the press, members, lawmakers, and all citizens alike. So Tracy, welcome to the show. Great having you on board.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Tracy, the first question I'd like to ask you tonight, since our subject is texting and driving, before cell phones, there were other things that distracted drivers, such as coffee, drinking, makeup, eating in the car. With so many things that people should be concerned about in regards to driver distractions, why is the focus placed so much on texting?
We advocate for safety on our roadways. We were very vocal with the seatbelt laws, with the handheld versus hands-free cell phone law, and now we're into the new age with texting and driving. It is illegal in New Jersey to text and drive, and it is also illegal to read a text message or email on your BlackBerry while driving, and folks sometimes don't get that. And it's very unfortunate when you drive down the road and you see folks on their BlackBerries, on their cell phones. People don't realize how dangerous it is to drive, especially in New Jersey. We are a very congested state, and it's a very dangerous area to, at any point, take your eyes off the road. We're trying to get back to basics, and we're trying to get people to realize that they need to eliminate the distractions in their vehicle, whether it be a hands-free cell phone, whether it be using a text message, using an iPod, or even programming a GPS. We want to get back to basics and people to understand that when they're driving, that's all they should be doing is just driving. The handheld ban that is in effect in New Jersey does encompass all electronic devices. So if you were, shuffling through an iPod, if you're using it in your hand and trying to change songs, if you are trying to reprogram a GPS unit, that would all fall under the violation of the distractions. So, and a lot of vehicles today that have built-in navigation systems, if your car is not at a complete stop, you cannot change or alter that program. So the automobile manufacturers are trying to do their part so that folks are not tempted to take their eyes off the road and program electronic devices while driving. So some of those safeguards are in place, but for devices that are aftermarket, those provisions are just not there.
Also, we've talked about how texting takes away your eyes from the road, and texting while driving is like driving under the influence. What other dangers are present while you're texting and driving?
It's taking your focus off the road. And AAA actually polls motorists every 2 years. And in recent polls, we found that folks are ranking text messaging while driving more dangerous, or perceiving it as more dangerous, than people that are driving while impaired. Now, we're not trying to diminish that in any way, shape, or form. It is unacceptable to drive while impaired. But people realize that the texting while driving has become almost epidemic, and folks are getting killed and folks are getting critically injured because people are distracted. So when you realize you're reading a text message or trying to send a text message, your focus is now on a conversation. Your focus is not on the roadway in front of you, and your focus is not on what is surrounding your vehicle. Especially coming into the fall season, we have deer on our roadways, we have darkness coming earlier, and different natural factors that come into paying attention while you're driving. And people are taking their eyes off the road to read a text message or to try and send a text message, and they're getting killed.
So you're saying that texting while driving is illegal in New Jersey. Is it also illegal in Pennsylvania?
There was just legislation passed recently, and text messaging in Pennsylvania is also illegal.
And is there a penalty? And what is that exact penalty?
There is a monetary penalty, and I believe there's also points associated with it because it is a moving violation. So not only are you going to have to pay a fine, but you also then will incur surcharges, and your insurance rates will ultimately go up.
But it's not illegal if you are at a complete stop?
It is allowed by the vehicle, but you know, if you can do it within the 30 seconds of a traffic light, then, you know, more power to you, but it's really not, it's not recommended.
So then you should have somebody in the car do it for you?
It is something that is that important that needs to be, you know, communicated while behind the wheel, then if you have a passenger, absolutely. If not, you know, you can pull over to a rest area to the side of the road into a parking lot if it's something that needs to be communicated that quickly.
I remember in the old days, Tracy, motorists used pay phones if they needed to make a call out on the road, on the side of the road. I know we don't have pay phones now, but nevertheless, should there just be a ban on all cell phones in cars?
Really shouldn't. I mean, and that can bring up a different argument as far as, you know, well, if you have passengers in the car, you're going to carry on a conversation with them. However, when you have passengers in the car, you also have extra sets of eyes in the car with you, which is helpful. So if you are engaged in a conversation with a passenger, you've got two sets of eyes that are looking at the road, looking at your surroundings, and would not most likely be quiet if there was impending danger. However, if you're on a cell phone, a lot of times people are so engaged in the conversation that they're having that they're not paying attention to the roadway. What they're doing is thinking of how to respond to the question that was asked in the conversation, or they're formulating what their next question to that person is going to be. It's oftentimes when you ask somebody, have you been distracted while talking on the cell phone? The answer is no. However, if you ask them, have you ever missed their exit while driving? Their answer is yes. Right. A lot of things that we found is also there's a very large do as I say, not as I do attitude on the roadways. So it's not you that's talking on your cell phone being distracted, it's all the folks around you that are being distracted while they're on their cell phones, because you have the ability to focus and drive and talk on the phone and nobody else does. So it's a lot of discrepancy out there, and unfortunately it's not the truth.
Recently there's been a report about the high risk of driving while you're eating, smoking, and music adjustments in the cars. Also, people love to rubberneck looking at an accident, and that can cause accidents due to the rubbernecking. But none of those behaviors are illegal. Are we going a little bit too far in what we're looking to mandatorily adjust and to keep freedoms off of? And is this something that we can really focus on, just texting, or do we need to address all the other things that we do in a car?
It's not, and we were looking into an all-encompassing distracted driver law in New Jersey several years back. It's almost hard to pinpoint every single distraction that is in the vehicle. You've mentioned a few. You've mentioned, you know, putting on makeup, drinking coffee, changing the radio station. At that point, you could extend it to having pets in the car, having children in the car. You know, it's hard to draw a firm line as to what is allowed and what's not allowed, and who can handle what type of different distractions. You know, every individual is different. So the law is essentially focused on the major distractions, and the cell phone and texting being the number one.
Okay. While you're here, I'd like you to tell everybody about AAA, its history, and what AAA is all about to the motoring public.
Is the American Automobile Association. We've been around for over 100 years, and our original mission was to advocate for safer roads for the motoring public. So out of that came the need for roadside assistance, and we have most folks know us because of our towing capabilities. We have a very large member base in New Jersey. There's actually several AAA clubs that operate in New Jersey, and we cover more than 2 million members. So it's a lot of folks that use our services, but not just for towing, for the discounts that it provides. And a lot of folks don't know that we have a foundation for safety and education that works in the schools to educate people on bicycle safety, on pedestrian safety, traffic safety issues, and that we also sponsor the school safety patrol. So all the belts and the badges that you see in the school systems are all provided by AAA.
Okay. I just get back to texting for a moment. I know we're coming back to something we just recently discussed. The Foundation for Traffic Safety statistics were given out, and they show that more and more adults are texting while driving, and more adults don't realize that this is something they shouldn't do in the car and focus on. Why do you think we have this such variance where people actually say that they're very concerned about what other people do, but then do it themselves?
It's one of those questions that, people just, going back to what you said earlier, as people wanting immediate responses. In this electronic age, people are available 24/7. People know that everybody is available and are expecting an immediate response. And that's where we need to get back to the basics. And there's nothing wrong with letting somebody know that you're going to be in the car for the next 15, 20 minutes, for the next hour and a half, and you're going to be unavailable. There's nothing wrong with that. If it is your employer, they need to understand that your safety is at risk and accept that. If it's your loved ones, they also need to understand that you're trying to get home to them. That's the last thing anybody wants, is a police officer showing up on a doorstep to announce a tragedy as a result of distracted driving or texting while driving. It's all avoidable. So we just need to get people back in the mindset that when you're driving, you're operating a deadly weapon, and you need to focus on the task at hand.
Does that mean? I'd just like to know, is there any developing technology by car makers that would help with this problem today?
A lot of the car manufacturers now have Bluetooth in the vehicle so that your cell phone can sync to the vehicle so that the phone comes through the vehicle speakers. It's still a distraction because you're still taking away your focus from the road. So even though you're not holding a phone and you're not, physically handling something, you're still processing the information of that phone call, and you're still taking your focus off the road. There's also other technological products and different apps that are available on iPhones and on smartphones that are text-to-speech, so you could talk a text message into the phone. You're still formulating a thought that has nothing to do with driving. You're still engaging in a behavior that's taking your focus off the road. So even though, yes, those advances are available, we need people to be smarter than the technology and have the presence of mind not to engage in them.
Some freedom of speech advocates would say that banning texting while driving would infringe upon people's rights. Is AAA taking a stand on that issue?
We advocate for motorist safety. You hear the arguments where people, they have the freedom to not wear their seatbelt. However, by them not wearing their seatbelt, if they're involved in a crash, there are ultimately costs that are associated with that person not wearing their seatbelt, because there are extra medical costs that then insurance costs go up. So there's residual effects to people ignoring laws and ignoring their own safety ultimately costs others folks.
So what is the final message that you'd like to get across to our audience tonight?
It's relatively simple. We want folks to just drive. And we want parents, when they are teaching their teenagers to drive, to practice what they preach, to not be having cell phone conversations themselves, and to be paying attention to the roadway. Folks don't realize that from the first experience a child has in a car, we're in generations that are driving now that were brought up in car seats. So these kids that are now driving have been in car seats and restraints their entire life. So it's almost unheard of for them to get into a vehicle and not put a seatbelt on because they were never taught anything different. So we need that same culture to move forward. So we need parents to set good examples, not be engaging in text messaging, and not having conversations. So we need folks to really understand that this is a problem, and there's an easy solution, and it's to hang up the phone and just drive.
Enforcement of the law is very tough, as you know. How does AAA work with law enforcement officials to curb the amount of driver distractions on the road?
Enforcement officials regularly to get the message out. We try to support the campaigns that law enforcement is using. We use our outlets to get their message out, and we join in with them at any chance that we get to make sure that we are coming out with one united voice so that folks understand and they get it from different angles, that this really is a problem.
Could you tell us some of the major cases or trials that were caused by texting or other distracted driving?
You know, several tragedies that have occurred. We had a AAA board member have family members that were involved in a distracted driving crash. These folks were on a motorcycle and were hit by a pickup truck that was operating while distracted. And these folks, husband and wife, both lost a leg in the crash because the driver was distracted. They are advocates for stricter distracted driving penalties. They are very brave and their story is horrific, but they do not want that type of tragedy to happen to anybody else. So they have been vocal about their incident and are getting the word out. So, you know, people are being affected, and it's not something that we want to hear more of, that you know, folks are losing limbs or losing lives as a result of a distracted driver.
I'd like to speak about the University of Utah's recent study and how the human brain is not equipped to multitask. What can an individual do or say that he or she will not be communicating for text while driving, so they limit this danger while on the road?
You know, if you know you have to get to a meeting and you're going to be in the vehicle for a set amount of time, you know, we have the technology with voicemail these days. That can be your voicemail message, that you will be unavailable for the next 45 minutes while driving. There's different apps that are out there now that will actually shut your cell phone off while it's in motion. So there's different technologies that are out there that would reduce the distractions. But the simplest thing is, to let folks know, let your family know. If you're going to be driving, I don't answer the phone while I'm driving. That's your policy. That's a lot of corporate policies as well. If you look in a lot of corporate manuals, that if you are on company time and you are traveling to or from a meeting, you are not to be engaging in conversations while behind the wheel, which is a great policy for corporations to adopt. It keeps their folks safe.
Another study out of the University of Utah talks about how young adults can be 4 times more distracting and that infants and children can be 8 times more distracting. With all these distractions, why are we just focusing on these 1 or 2 things?
I think we focus on what we can control. We cannot ban children from cars. You can't ban children from school buses. You can't, take children out of it. It's just not something that is acceptable by society, unless we were going to revert to a walking society, which unfortunately is not going to get us very far.
It seems that from all the statistics, the numbers are out there, and that it is a growing problem, becoming an epidemic, and that it really is all about using your common sense.
It's about common sense, it's about reinforcing the message, and it's about setting good examples. So we need our parents to engage in good behavior, to set good examples. We need the school systems to reinforce it, to get the message out to the high school students, and not even, just when they're starting the driving process, but well before that. It's something that we just need a societal change, and we need to ingrain in people that this kills people. Texting and driving kills people. Distracted driving kills people. So we need folks to just get really back to the basics. It sounds simple and it sounds like common sense, but yet anytime you ride down the road, you look around and you're seeing people still talking on a handheld cell phone, and you see people texting. If you're traveling down the turnpike, you can see people changing their driving behavior because they're weaving in and out of the lane of travel because they're looking down. They're taking their eyes off the road and they're trying to read a message. It's very dangerous, especially at speeds upwards of 65 miles an hour. It's extremely dangerous.
Finally, what other services can you talk about that AAA provides?
We're just here to be an advocate for motorists. We also provide a large amount of discounts that folks can take their AAA card to local businesses and receive discounts. We also are a full-service travel agency. We've got an office in Princeton. We've got another office in Hamilton and another one in Bridgewater that are full-service travel agencies for all of your travel needs. And we've got plenty of folks that are ready and willing to pick you up on the side of the roadway.
Thank you, Tracy, for coming out tonight. It was great for you to come here and spare some time from your schedule, and hopefully we can get this message out, and we can make the point that it's not only what you can do to avoid accidents in your car, but to make sure others are not involved in any accidents. And be safe on the road, and don't text while you drive, and stay focused. And until next week, this is Lou Goldstein thanking you for watching another edition of Focus On.
Et là-bas, bonjour mes amis, tu parais pour danser? Ah non, les haricots sont pas allés. Tu m'as fait tout le temps de le soir, tu pars comme avec ça, cher. Ah non, ah non, ah non. Et toi, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, boom!
This program was brought to you through a grant provided by the Bank of Princeton.